And we are live. All systems go. We are live, it says. The live English lesson about speed is starting in 38 seconds. I'm just going to double check to make sure everything is working. Hafiz, I think we won 3-2 in overtime last night in the Four Nations hockey game. Pretty cool. Pretty happy that we won. We'll start in 19 seconds on this lesson about speed. Hi to Wanda and Hafiz and Bill and Yamna and Key Park. I think everything is working the way it is supposed to. We'll start in 5 seconds. 3, 2, 1. Well, hello, and welcome to this English lesson about speed. I will primarily be talking about how fast things go, how we measure how fast things go, what happens if you go too fast when you're driving. It will mostly be related to speed and vehicles, although I will talk about a few other things related to speed as well. Speed, of course, is the word we use to talk about how fast a car goes, or how fast an airplane goes, or how fast you can run. Maybe even how fast you can type. So welcome to this English lesson about speed. I hope you're able to learn some new English words and phrases that you can use in your next English conversation. Hey, hi everybody. Good to see all of you. Let's see here. Hafia says, Canadians versus who? To me, who won by how many? Well, there was a small hockey game last night, and I am happy to say that Canada won. I do want to thank, I think Boston hosted the game. So it was the US versus Canada. It was a close game. Both teams have amazing hockey players, but we did end up winning. So Canada did win, but it was a great game. And I do once again want to thank the US for hosting the final game. We hosted an earlier game in Montreal, but it was nice to have some collegiality. So good game to all my American friends out there. Wanda says hi to Lolly Lolly. I want to say hi to Bill, Yamna, Key Park Soda. American English with Brent says it's not important. No need to talk about it. Freddie Wolf says, hi, Brent. I wish you and Jamie a great flight. Yeah, I wish you a great flight as well. Brent's on his way home right now. Hi to Life of Mine, Saint Dubov. Bridget is here. Mohammed, Saint Dubov again. Mark, Freddie Wolf as well. Bonjour, Freddie. And Lolly Lolly, Etienne, Haki, and many other familiar names. So we're going to talk about speed today. I'll try not to talk too fast. Sometimes the speed at which I speak is too fast, so I will try to slow down a bit. I think it will be a good lesson. I don't have a lot of slides today, about 24, so a little shorter than normal. So I don't have to go as fast as I normally do. But yeah, we'll talk about speed. If you have a question about the lesson, please use the form that is linked in the chat. I'm actually going to pull up the form for a sec and pin it. So let me pin that. Where's the pin? There's pin. So if you have a question, please use that link that you see at the top of the chat. It'll show up a few times during the lesson as well. And if your question is about speed, I will answer it. If your question is about something else, I will not answer it. So I like to keep the lesson on track, we say. I like to keep the lesson on the topic. I think it's a good idea. Octovina says, hello, Mr. Bob. Good evening from Indonesia. I want to say congrats for Canada today. I watched the hockey, Canada versus the USA. Fun game all around. You know, it was I would say it was a spectacle. Like if you watch the beginning and the national anthems and the lights and the amazing graphics, like I think it's TD that owns that arena. By the way, interesting. The arena is owned by Toronto Dominion Bank. So a Canadian bank owns the arena in Boston. Interesting. Or doesn't own it, has the naming rights would be what we would say. Anyways, I'm off topic. Let's get this lesson started. Are you ready? Let me have a sip of water. And we will get started. Miles per hour. So depending on where you live in the world, we measure how fast you were going by how many miles you would go in 1 hour. So if you drove 20 miles per hour, you would go 20 miles if you drove for an hour. In some places, though, we go by kilometers per hour. This is the Canadian spelling of kilometers. It's not a typo. And the short form is at the top. And so this is how many kilometers you would go if you drove at that speed for 1 hour. So if I drove at 80 kilometers per hour, I would go exactly 80 kilometers. At the end of the hour, I will have gone 80 kilometers. That's a good verb tense for you, by the way. You will have gone. So again, miles per hour if you're in, I think, the UK or the United States, and maybe a few other countries, and kilometers per hour in most of the other parts of the world. I don't want to get into an argument about the metric system. By the way, you will hear people informally sometimes say kilometers an hour. Like I was going 80 kilometers an hour. The correct term is kilometers per hour, but you will sometimes hear it. I say it myself. Like the other day, I was in a 50 kilometer an hour zone and I was going 55 kilometers an hour. So kilometers per hour is correct. Sometimes we say kilometers an hour. To speed. So the verb to speed usually 90% of the time means you're driving faster than the speed limit. So I don't usually speed when I'm driving. I try to drive the speed limit or just slightly over. When you speed, you risk getting a speeding ticket. You can use the verb speed for other things, like he was speeding down the hallway or the runner was speeding down the track. But usually in English, if someone says, the other day I was speeding to work, it means that they were going faster than they were legally allowed to go. So to speed. Hopefully the blurriness helps you understand this is someone who is speeding, someone who is driving too fast. A few phrases here that we use when we're talking about speed. When you say, how fast was he going? You're asking how many kilometers per hour or how many miles per hour the person was going. If I said, my brother drove here in less than 10 minutes, Jen might say, whoa, how fast was he going? And then I would say, well, he was probably speeding. He decided to speed in order to get here quickly. So a common question, how fast was he going? Joe got a ticket. How fast was he going? And then the answer to it is he was going 112 kilometers per hour, or he was going 67 miles per hour. So the answer to the question, how fast was he going, is he was going, and then you give the speed. You could also just say he was going really fast. That works as well. There's another phrase we use, and that's the phrase, he was flying. So I could say this, Jen, I went for a walk. A car went by. I'm not sure how fast he was going, but he was flying. If you say that someone in a vehicle is flying, it doesn't mean they're flying. It means they are going really, really, really fast. So if you were to describe, if you were to describe someone as flying, it means they're going really, really fast. And then, of course, we have what's called the speed limit. So the speed limit is the speed you're allowed to go in a certain area. So if you're driving somewhere, there will be signs, and the signs will tell you how fast you're allowed to go. Now in Canada, you can always go, in my opinion, you can go a few kilometers over. I think if you drive 115 kilometers per hour in a 110 kilometer an hour zone, you'll probably be okay. You probably won't get a speeding ticket. But if you do 125 or 130, you probably will. And just note there that once you're talking about speed, you don't need to say miles per hour or kilometers per hour every time. So if I say, the other day I was driving and I was doing about 100 kilometers an hour, so I slowed down and just did 50 when I got to town, people understand that I'm talking about my speed. In fact, if I was to say Brent was driving and he was going 60, it's understood that I'm talking about miles per hour because Brent's American. If you said Bob was going 60, it's understood that I was going kilometers per hour because I'm Canadian. Hopefully I'm not confusing you there. And then, of course, in your car, you have a speedometer. This is a word I have heard mispronounced by English learners before. It's speedometer. It's said very quickly. You don't overpronounce the syllables. So the O in the middle does not make an O sound. It's speedometer. So it makes like an ah sound, right? Speedometer. This speedometer says that this person is doing 72 kilometers per hour. Some speedometers will have kilometers per hour and miles per hour on them. In Canada, our speedometers have both. So if we go to the United States, we can see how fast we're going. But this is a speedometer, and this is what tells you how fast you're going. Gonna have a sip of water, and I'll answer some questions. I want to say hi to Mode Eggs is here. Hi, Mode. Good to see you. Florian is here. Mali Chitrans is here. Peter is here. Junguk is here. Sylvan is here. Carolina, Justina, and Paco-san, and a lot of other familiar names. Good to see all of you. I will answer some questions now. Hopefully I'm not talking too quickly. I was going to start the lesson with sound effects. I was going to do like, that's the sound of a car. Or I was going to do the sound of a really fast car going by, but I forgot. So I'll insert those sound effects here. I thought that would have been a good way to start the lesson. Let's see if there are some questions to answer. I don't know how to answer this one. Okay, we'll put it on the screen, but it's a little bit of toilet humor from Kurdish. Uncle Bob, hello. Serious physics question. What's quicker, lightning or diarrhea when it's a race against time? I don't know, but sometimes when your stomach is upset and you really have to go to the bathroom, you have to go very, very quickly from wherever you are. You might need to run to the bathroom. Let's see. I'm going to skip questions that are not related to the topic today. Okay, so make sure the questions you are submitting are about the topic of speed. If you have a question that is on another topic or is about English in general, please save that for a Saturday live stream in the future. People in the chat are answering the question. Yeah. But if you are asking questions, so I have a few questions here about that are not on topic. So I'm going to avoid those. And we'll probably just go back to the lesson if there aren't more questions on the topic of speed. I'll wait a second to see. Aurelio says, because sometimes you don't even have time to turn on the light. Yes. I am thankful that I have not been sick for a very long time, but yes, it happens to all of us, doesn't it? Backing up in the chat, Hafia says, I feel the need for speed, a quote from the movie Top Gun. That movie has a lot of very fast airplanes in it, if you were to watch it. Hafias also says 60 miles per hour is about 98 kilometers per hour. Yes. In Canada, you kind of have to do the math in your head every once in a while. Let's see here. Someone from Kitchener, good to see. Freddie says, nowadays with the electric vehicle, the sound seems to be like scoop volant. Yeah, it's different, right? I've heard a variety of interesting sounds from electric cars recently. All of them make some sort of sound. And it's kind of interesting to see. Hafia says, the second sound Bob made was the Doppler effect. Yes, the effect of distance on sound. Let's see. Here we go. Okay. Question on the screen from Taras. Hello, dear teacher. On a speedometer of your car, is it kilometers per hour or miles per hour? Now, by the way, kph is also used for kilometers per hour. In Canada, we tend to use km/h, kilometers per hour, but that is valid as well. So on Canadian cars, we have kilometers per hour and miles per hour. The bigger numbers are usually kilometers per hour because that's the measurement we use. And then in a smaller font and usually a slightly different color on the inner, on a smaller inner circle, we have miles per hour as well. So that is, I think all Canadian cars have that. When I go to the United States, most cars only have miles per hour. Casey says, do you know how I show speed? Depends. If you want to describe speed, you can use feet per second, meters per second, miles per hour, kilometers per hour. The percentage of the speed of light, you can use the speed of sound. If you're talking about drawing, when you make something blurry or you add lines behind it, it shows that that person or thing is going really, really fast. From Mohammed, I'm not a car person, so I'm not sure what to ask, but I'll try. How old were you when you first got your license and how many times you had an accident? I have had my license since I was 16. So I got my driver's license when I was 16. On my 16th birthday, I got my learner's permit, or what we call your beginners here in Canada. So I was allowed to drive as long as there was someone beside me who also had their license. And then when I think 5 weeks later, I got my full driver's license in August of that year, back in the early 70s. I was born in the early 70s. In the mid 80s, I got my license. How many times you had an accident? So 2 times. I did go in the ditch once when I was a teenager. The roads were very, very slippery. And then I also rear-ended a car in the winter when it was really, really slippery. It's very dangerous to drive in the winter. Let's see here. From Peter, hello, Mr. Bob. How are you? Your live stream is very interesting today. In your country, the steering wheel in the right or in the left? Thanks. More blessings. So we sit on the left side of the car and we drive on the right side of the road. So I get into my car. When I'm in my car, the steering wheel is on the left side. Hopefully you can see that. The steering wheel is on the left side. And then when I pull onto the road, I drive on the right side of the road in Canada. And it's this exact same in the United States. So very similar, both countries. That's one thing we do still have in common. Sorry, that was a little political joke there. I'm not going to get into the details of the politics of the world right now. Let's just say I'm happy Canada won the hockey game, and we'll leave it at that. Freddie in the chat says, how many kilometers per hour for a snail? I'm not sure, but I'm going to teach a phrase in a little bit with the word snail in it. So let's see here. Just going to read the chat, and then I'm going to head back into the lesson. Here we go. Let's do that. I'll get a sip of water, and then we'll get back to this lesson about speed. Here we go. Full speed ahead. So there's something in English called full speed. When I drive my lawnmower, if I push the pedal all the way down, I think my lawnmower does 7 or 8 kilometers per hour, and that's full speed. Full speed is the fastest speed that anything can go or anyone can go. When I run full speed, if I try to do the 100-meter dash, it takes me much longer than it did when I was younger, even though I'm running full speed. So full speed is the fastest speed you can run. In a car, if you went full speed, you would get a ticket because you would be doing 160 kilometers an hour or per hour or something like that. But I think this comes from the phrase full speed ahead. When a boat wants to go the fastest it can go, the captain will say full speed ahead. And we also use this phrase in everyday English. So someone at a meeting might say, okay, let's get to work, everyone, full speed ahead. That means to work as fast as you can work. So that's the phrase full speed ahead. High speed. So you might be familiar with the phrase high speed because your country might have a high speed train. Or if you're old enough, you'll remember there was internet through the phone line, but then you could buy high-speed internet. Nowadays, almost all of our internet connections are high-speed, so there's no need to use it anymore, but a high-speed train is really cool. If you're wondering where the idea for this lesson came from, it's because Trudeau, the Prime Minister of Canada, Justin Trudeau, announced that they plan to build a high-speed train from Toronto to Quebec City. So that will be very, very cool if they do manage to build that. Canada does not have a high-speed train at all. I know in Japan and France and Spain, I think a lot of countries have high-speed trains or high-speed rail. We don't. So I am looking forward to it. If we do end up building it, it will take a while, but it will certainly make it cool, because then I can just jump on a train in Toronto and I'll be in Quebec City in like 3 hours or something. It would be amazing. So high speed refers to something that that goes really, really fast. To accelerate. So I'm not sure if you have seen any kind of car racing. This is actually called drag racing because they're at a drag strip. So they are going to drive in a straight line. These cars accelerate really, really quickly. When you accelerate, it means you go from a dead stop to going really fast, or you might already be moving and you go faster. So when you accelerate, you go quicker. That's why in a car, there's a pedal. We call it the gas pedal or the accelerator, because when you push that pedal, it makes the car go faster. So when you accelerate, it means that either you're not moving and you start moving, or you're moving and you start to go faster, to accelerate. If you haven't seen any kind of car race, you want to see speed. That's where you see speed. It's kind of amazing how fast the cars will go. They accelerate very, very quickly. To pick up speed, you might have noticed that when you drive a car and when you go downhill, you might pick up speed. That means that the car starts to go faster. I noticed when I was driving to Maine to visit Brent, I had to drive up and down some small mountains in New York State. And whenever I was going down, the car would pick up speed. So I wasn't trying to go faster. I wasn't pushing the accelerator. I wasn't trying to accelerate. But because I was going downhill, my car would pick up speed. So it was kind of fun, actually. It was like a roller coaster. It would, let me see what my next one is. No, it's not the right one. I would certainly pick up speed on the way down, and then I would have to push the accelerator harder to maintain my speed when I went back up. To speed up, if you decide to pass someone, if you're behind a car and you want to pass them, you need to speed up. You need to accelerate. You need to go faster. So if you are driving the same speed, you just stay behind that person. But if you speed up, if you increase your speed, you can pass them. So sometimes when I'm driving, the speed limit will be 80 kilometers per hour, and the person in front of me is only doing 65 kilometers per hour. When that happens, I usually speed up and then I usually pass the person. So I make my car go faster and I pass them. I speed up. To slow down. So obviously, when you are going a certain speed, you might not want to go that speed forever. So eventually you will hit the brakes because you want to slow down. Sometimes when you look ahead, you'll see that traffic is stopped. You'll see lots of brake lights ahead of you, and then you'll hit the brakes to slow down. You want to slow down so you don't hit somebody. That's the main reason. But certainly when you hit the brakes, you will slow down. So when you hit the gas, you will speed up. When you hit the accelerator, when you push the gas pedal, there's a lot of phrases in there, you will speed up. When you hit the brakes, or when you press the brake pedal or hit the brake pedal, you will slow down. And then, of course, hopefully your brake lights come on so the people behind you know that you are slowing down. So this is a speed bump. I hate these. I'll just be clear from the start. Speed bumps are bumps in the road designed to make people slow down. So if you don't know a speed bump is there and you drive over it, you go for, it's a bump. You might come out of your seat a little bit, but there are a few places in my local town where they have installed speed bumps. They do look like this. They put yellow or orange paint on them, reflective yellow paint so that you can see them. And they're usually in areas where there are schools. Often close to schools, they will put speed bumps to slow people down so that they don't drive too fast in that area. Because when there's a speed bump, you can't drive fast. You will damage your car. You will hit your head on the ceiling inside the car. It's not a good thing. And I did want to also I'll talk about this in a bit, but I think I forgot one word in this lesson, but I can add that later when I talk about something else. As fast as lightning. So we have a few phrases we use to describe people or things or animals or cars or planes or trains, things that are going really, really fast. And we say that they're as fast as lightning. So you might go see a horse race and you might say to your friend, the horse that won was as fast as lightning. So they weren't actually as fast. Like lightning goes from the cloud to the earth in a split second, but it's one of the fastest things we see as human beings. So you might describe other things the same way. That teenager drove by the school as fast as lightning. They were doing 150 kilometers per hour. That actually happened once, many, many years ago. But when you see someone go really, really fast, you could say they're as fast as lightning. You could say Usain Bolt is as fast as lightning. He is such a fast sprinter. You could say, I'm trying to think of a car driver's name, Mario Andretti. Is that an old name? Yeah, he was as fast as lightning in his day. I don't know a lot about car racing, so that's probably a bad example. I am not as fast as lightning. When I was younger, I was on the track and field team and I did run the 100-meter dash. And I think my fastest time is around 12 seconds. So I was okay, but now I'm not. I'm not as fast as lightning anymore. I'm not sure anyone would have described me that way back then, but I'm certainly not that fast now. At a snail's pace. So a snail is a small, slimy animal with a shell on its back, and it moves very, very slowly. I should have put a picture here of an actual snail. I think you can picture it though. It's like a slug, but with a shell. I don't know if you know what a slug is, but snails are slow. So we describe many things in life using the same word, like traffic moved at a snail's pace, or I waited in line and the line was moving at a snail's pace, or I think traffic is the best example, or waiting in a line. Whenever something does not move quickly, we use this phrase. We say that it's moving at a snail's pace. This is my least favorite thing in the world when I'm driving. Maybe speed bumps are in the same category. I do not like traffic jams. I do not like moving at a snail's pace. It is, yes, very, very challenging for me as a human being to remain patient when I have to drive at a snail's pace. Not very fun. And this is a radar gun. So when you speed, remember when we use the verb speed, it means to drive over the speed limit. When you speed, you risk getting a speeding ticket. And I forgot to make a slide for a speeding ticket. A speeding ticket is what a police officer will give you if they catch you speeding. They will catch you speeding using a radar gun. So if you're driving along and all of a sudden you see a police officer waving you to pull over, it means that they probably caught you speeding with their radar gun and you're going to get a ticket. I got a ticket a year and a bit ago. I don't know if you remember that. I left my house. I made one left turn. I accelerated to 70 something kilometers per hour in a 60 kilometer per hour zone. And all of a sudden I noticed up ahead 3 police cars on the side of the road and a police officer standing with his radar gun. And then I drove by doing the speed limit at that point, and one of the police cars pulled out and pulled me over, and I got a speeding ticket. So I forgot a slide for speeding ticket. It's a piece of paper. It's a fine. So they're basically saying you have to pay this much money. I think it was $80. And it says, you were doing 76 kilometers an hour in a 60 kilometer per hour zone. Notice I said kilometers an hour and kilometers per hour. It is very common for me to say that. And then I had to pay the ticket within 15 days. So police will sometimes use a radar gun in order to, catch people who are speeding. Hey, let's do some questions. Let me get a sip of water here and read the chat. Lolly says, rapide comme l'éclairé in French, en français. And then Mode says, l'escargot. If you're learning French, we got the word for lightning and the word for snail there. Let's see here. I can only give one question, then I can't continue. Yeah, you can only submit one question. Sorry. I should probably open that up a bit. I should look if there's a setting because I think sometimes 2 questions might be better. Freddie says, l'éclair au chocolat. I love, yeah. Now I'm craving an eclair, Freddie. And Brent says, Bridget, I looked it up on ChatGPT a couple days ago. It could be wrong. Oh, they're probably talking about something else. There we go. Okay, so let me get a question on the screen. I have a few questions here. Where's my button for questions? Here we go from Bridget. Would you like to fly to the moon with enormous speed someday? I don't know. When I read science fiction books, I will admit I am interested in space travel, but I think I maybe was born too early. Maybe people being born today will someday travel to the moon, but I don't think in the next 40 years they're going to build a hotel on the moon that I can visit. But yes, it does appeal to me, but I would, even if I could do it, I probably wouldn't unless it was super easy to do and not dangerous at all. Michael Holman in the chat says, just passed a radar gun 2 weeks ago. My speed was okay, but they got me with my phone in my hand. Oh, yeah, that's a ticket here too. In Canada, you cannot use your phones when you drive, as in many countries. So, and then Mode saying, yeah, only one question, 170 characters max. You know, I will take that advice. I'll have a look at whether I can change that for the next live stream because sometimes questions come in like hard and fast, and sometimes there aren't a lot. So it might be worthwhile allowing 2 questions. Aurelio says, can you appeal in court in case you got a ticket? You can, but if you're guilty, you're guilty, right? Like, unless the date on the ticket's wrong, or, I mean, they literally might have a picture of you speeding with this, like, it would be difficult to explain. From Musab, hello Bob, I'm from Sudan. I just want to say thanks for the great videos. You are welcome. I enjoy making them. I'm going to keep making them. I was excited to do this morning's. I actually got up early to finish this lesson because I was excited to do it. So that was really fun. Hey, let me turn on members only chat, which I forgot to do. We do that during the live stream. Let me just do that for a moment. Members, I would love it if you had some questions, ask them directly in the chat. I'm going to check my audio. If you're wondering what's happening, why I stopped the lesson, it's because I teach for 10 minutes and then I usually answer questions for 10, teach for 10, questions for 10, and we will do another 5-10 minutes of slides in just a moment. So you don't leave if you're one of the 300 people watching. And if you are a member, ask some questions. Hafia says, it's crazy to think that the last moon landing was in 1972 and mankind has never gone back since. So a little correction there in the grammar. Yeah, that is wild, isn't it? Because I think a lot of people thought that at some point we would have a base on the moon and there would be regular flights to the moon. I know it's far more complicated than we probably imagine and far more expensive. But yeah, I think if you think about it, they went to the moon like around the time I was born, and I'm in my 50s now. So no, that says, hello, Bob. I have no question today. I just finished my workday and tried to travel at the speed of light to get to your lesson, more or less on time. But as usual, there is a lot of traffic and every traffic light is red when you want to be somewhere on time. Yeah, life's funny that way, isn't it? Know that? When you want to get somewhere fast, you usually end up behind someone driving slow, or all the lights are red. Or what happened to me the other day? Oh, I couldn't find my keys. Like I wanted to get going, but I couldn't find my keys. And he said, no, that also says hello to everyone. Hafia says, how's the wrist doing? By the way, it's fine. It was just like, here's what I did. On Monday, I carried a really heavy can of gas from my car to the tractor. I cleaned off both of my vehicles. So I was doing a lot of this with the snow brush. I went and I played badminton for an hour and a half, 2 hours. And I did something else. I basically did a whole bunch of things with my wrists that I don't normally do. And so I think it was just a little bit strained the next day. By yesterday, it felt fine. I can still feel it a bit, but it's a-okay. Thanks for asking. But that was my day. I think that was Monday. We had a family day here. So Mode says, I don't think the U.S. can ever win at hockey versus Canada because even when the American team wins, Canadians will keep reminding them that most of their players are originally Canadian. Well, in this case, probably not. But there is, in the National Hockey League, I think, I don't know how many of the players, a lot of them come from Canada. Although the U.S. has some really good hockey players. Like that is cool. Most of the U.S. hockey players are from the northern U.S. I don't know if you've ever seen a map. It's kind of fun. If you look at a map of where most NHL players come from, most of them come from Canada, the northern U.S., and then northern Europe would be where most would come from. Hafiaz says, great seeing you here just in time for members mode. Yep, Mode's here. Good to see you too. Like they'll never hear the end of it. You know, Canadians don't usually go on and on about winning. It will be in the news for a day, and then we'll remember it for the rest of our lives. But we won't hold it over them. There's always the next time, right? Freddie Wolf says, Bob, if you were passenger and the driver would drive in an insane speed, would you ask him or her to slow down in order to stay alive at the next corner? Yes, I have actually done that. I've been in a car before and said, hey, can we slow down a bit? I'm not comfortable going this speed. I'm also I'm not comfortable when people don't have their seatbelts on, because I don't want them, if we go in the ditch or the car flips, I don't want them flying all over in the car. Brent says, Mode, those are fighting words. Michael Holman says, hello, Bob. Is there any difference in the speed limit for cars with trailer, and trucks on Canadian roads? No, the speed limit is the same for every vehicle. So the posted speed limit, what you see on the sign, is the same for everyone who is driving in that area. Key Park. Hi, Bob. What's the difference between the word speed and pace, please? Thank you. So speed is just how fast you are going. You know, what speed was he going? He was going 100 kilometers per hour. Pace is similar to speed, but we use it when we're talking about, like, a runner will try to run a certain pace. So they'll try to run so many miles. How does this work again? I can't remember the exact details, but let's say you want to run 5 kilometers and you want to finish with a time below 20 minutes. Your pace needs to be 4 minutes per kilometer. Did I do the math right? So it is similar to speed, but we use it usually when we're talking about racing or when you're measuring your time. Sometimes a runner will pace another runner. So someone who knows how fast to run will run with that person so they can go the same pace. So it is similar, but we wouldn't use it for cars. Like, although that's not true, there is a pace car at the beginning of a race. So, but I would say speed is the general term, and pace has some unique usages. Let's see here. Brent is triggered. Well, Brent might be sad that America lost, but knowing Brent, I don't think he's a sore loser. So a sore loser is someone who loses and then basically complains about how the refs were bad and it wasn't a fair game and makes all kinds of excuses. Brent, I think, would be more of a gracious loser who would say, hey, it was a good game. We'll beat you next time. We'll see, though. I'll talk to Brent in the summer. We'll see how gracious he is. Let's see here. Wanda, hi, Teacher Bob. Can the word speed be used also for people? It seems to me that is just for machines, cars, and so on. Thanks a lot. Yeah, that's hard to say. Like, when a person, like, you could say if a person runs by, you could say he was speeding by, or he's a speedy guy, like, or he was running at a really fast speed. Yep, You could say that. Brent says, thankfully, my flight is boarding soon. Thankfully, I will not have to be reminded of our loss. You can just watch a fun French movie on the way home. Well, I don't know what airline you're on, but maybe it's a French airline, Air France. No, that says, oh, a question does come to mind. Let's say one of my regular questions. What are you doing on the weekend? Any plans, Bob? No. I'm trying to think. No, there are no plans for this weekend. So I think I will be seeing my mom this weekend, but nothing else. Afia says, pace is time and distance. Speed is distance and time. Oh, so a scientific explanation. Thank you. Let's see. I get a question on the screen here. Here we go. From Kasky. How do you say the thing to support your arm, or you can put your hands on it when you're sitting on a chair? Sorry, I'm drawing a blank right now. That chair has, what is it called? Armrests. There we go. They're armrests. Sorry, I briefly forgot. Has nothing to do with speed, though. So I should have skipped that one. From Kuso, excuse me, Teacher Bob, at a standstill, at a snail's pace, at a traffic jam, which is most commonly used in English? They all have slightly different meanings. I could say traffic was moving at a snail's pace. That means that cars are moving very slowly. If I say traffic was at a standstill, it means they're not moving. Like you're just stuck. You're not going anywhere. And then traffic jam would just be a general term for traffic that is either at a standstill or at a snail's pace or moving very, very slowly. Let's see here. Air France. Oh, you'll get good food then. Last time I was on Air France, the food was amazing. Glad you made it. Oh, that's clear. An armrest. Thanks, Mode. Yeah. Let me get another question up on the screen. Here we go. From Chris. If you had the superpower of speed, what would you do? I don't know. Like, would I play a sport and just be the best athlete? Like, if I had the superpower of speed, if I played soccer or football or hockey or like almost any basketball, almost any sport, if you are really fast, you would do well. Would I choose that? Would I want to be a superstar athlete? I think I might. I think that might be what I would do. I should save the world, though. That should be the answer. I would use my superpower of speed to help people, and I would play football. From Ubaid, sir, will you upload this online lesson on YouTube? Yes, this lesson will come out in a shorter version in a few days. Let's see here. Speedy Gonzalez, the Mexican comic mouse, speeds very fast. Yes. And the Road Runner also is another cartoon. Brent says, amazing food. They bring around so many snacks, so friendly. Yes. On some Canadian flights, you get a small cookie. You get a small cookie and a can of pop, I think is what you get. So anyways, let's turn off members only chat. I want to thank all of my members for being members. I almost clicked the end stream button instead of the turn off members chat button. Thank you for being members. If you don't know what membership is, you should explore it. There's a button somewhere around here that says join, and it will tell you what you get. An extra video on Wednesdays, a short lesson, a written lesson, instructions of things you can do during the week to improve your English. And you can chat in the members only chat, and you get your name in green during the live stream. So I think fun for you, fun for me if you become a member. So please consider it. What am I going to do here? I'm saying a lot. I just did questions. I'm going to go back. I'm going to have a sip of water and finish the lesson. The speed that I'm talking at is too fast. So we do use speed to describe people. Like he talks too fast. The speed at which he talks is too fast. So we also have speed cameras. So you can get a ticket from a police officer. They will have a radar gun. They might pull you over and give you a speeding ticket. But you can also now, in some parts of Canada, get a ticket from a speed camera. A speed camera looks exactly like this. There's one right in front of my school. And basically, if you're speeding, it can sense your speed. It can measure your speed, take a picture. This is my take a picture, hand gesture, and then a week or two later, you will get a ticket, a speeding ticket in the mail, and it will have your picture of your car with your license plate, and it will tell you how much money you owe. People in my part of Canada do not like speed cameras. In fact, the speed camera closest to me has been chopped down 5 times. At night, someone has cut the camera and toppled it over. Like they've come with a saw and they've cut it off. So I would say that they are not very popular, speed cameras. This is a speed trap. A speed trap is when police officers try to give out speeding tickets in one place for a few hours. So here you can see these police officers are hiding behind a tree. This is what they do sometimes when they set up a speed trap. So I got a ticket because there was a speed trap set up. There were 3 different police officers and they were all in one place checking how fast people were going and giving out tickets. And I think they were there for 3 or 4 hours. So this is a speed trap. When you see a police car hiding behind a bush, when you see police officers kind of standing behind a bush, it is a speed trap. You know what a trap is, right? Like you can trap things like a mouse trap, but this is a police speed trap. I don't mind speed traps because I don't like it when people speed, but I don't like getting a ticket. So we have the speed of sound and the speed of light. So the speed of sound, I'm not sure exactly what the speed is, but it's the speed that your voice would travel to someone in the distance. If you go somewhere where there's an echo, you can kind of get a sense of the speed of sound because your voice travels and then bounces off something and comes back to you. When someone is really far away and they yell, it actually, the time that they yell and the time you hear them is slightly different because the sound has to travel, and it travels, I'm going to say, shot in the dark, somewhere around 600 miles an hour. I don't actually know. And then we have the speed of light. So sound travels at a certain speed and light travels at a certain speed. I think it takes 8 minutes for the light from the sun to get to Earth. The speed of light is obviously way faster than the speed of sound. Humans can observe the speed of sound if you do certain things, but you can't really observe the speed of light. Like you can't like turn a flashlight on and off, and then someone in the distance would be like, oh, it's a split second before I see it. Light is way faster than that. It's almost, I think the best word, humans perceive the speed of light as almost instantaneous. Like when you turn a light on 4 kilometers away, I see it at almost the same time you turn it on. There's no way to be able to tell. And then in the chat, I see Hafia saying lightning and thunder are a perfect example. Yes, you see lightning and then you wait a little bit and then you hear thunder. That is a great example, actually. So again, when there's a storm, you see lightning because the speed of light is much faster than the speed of sound. And then 1 or 2 seconds later, you hear the thunder that the lightning produces. And then there's a movie called Speed. I don't know. I just felt silly last night when I was finishing this up. So I put this slide on. This is a movie with Keanu Reeves and I can't remember the other actress, but it's about a bus. And if they go too slow, I think the bus blows up. I'm not 100% sure. Can't remember the movie, but this is my last slide. So this was a lesson about speed, the measurement of how fast people and things are going, not about the movie Speed. But if you're interested in a movie where you will hear some of the same words and phrases, I'm sure that one would be a good one. That's it. Let me answer some questions and we will wrap up this lesson. What time is it? 9:20. Okay, not too bad. Let me get a question on the screen here. The question is, do you enjoy fast speed? So when I was younger, I will admit, I think I drove a little too fast sometimes. There is something thrilling about driving fast. I would say now, you can actually go and rent go-karts. Go-karts are really little cars on a track. And I do enjoy that. Like, I enjoy driving fast. When I go tobogganing, I do enjoy the speed of going down the hill on a sled or toboggan. And when I had a motorcycle, I didn't speed a lot, but there was something fun about driving a motorcycle. Have you ever received, from Lena, have you ever received a speeding ticket? Yes. I think I've gotten 2 in my life. Not for very, like, I think one was 96 kilometers per hour in a 90 kilometer per hour zone. So I was doing 6, I think it was 6 kilometers. Am I remembering that one right? Yeah. And then I got another one doing 70 something in a 60, I think it was. I might be remembering that wrong, actually. I might have been going faster. Bevo, hello, Bob. Is the phrase gather speed very common, or do you have a more common phrase? So I would say that they are speeding up. So you could say the rocket was starting to gather speed, but I would probably say the rocket was speeding up, or the rocket was starting to go faster. Your phrase is correct, but from Unsel, hi, how are you doing? Good. At what speed do you live your life? At a nice pace. Slowly, savoring the moment, or quickly without even realizing it. Thanks. Have a nice day. Bye. So I use the word pace there, but yeah, I don't live life at a fast pace. I live life at not a slow pace. I think just medium. I try to enjoy as much of life as I can. Danny, if we justify why we were speeding and the reason is reasonable, the ticket can be removed. For example, if I'm going to the hospital. So this is something you would need to talk to the police officer about as the police officer is talking to you. So if I was speeding because I had to go to the hospital, I would probably say to the police officer, this person with me broke their arm. I'm going to the hospital. And they might say, okay, we'll help you get there. And then you wouldn't get a ticket. But if they do give you a ticket, you have to pay the ticket. You might be able to argue your way out of it, but normally you would make the case to the police officer, like, can you just give me a warning? And hopefully they are kind. Let's see. Mode says, I'm waiting for Mr. Bob to say Keanu Reeves is Canadian, by the way. Keanu Reeves is Canadian, by the way. He's also one of the nicest actors, I think. And no one has mentioned who, I'm not sure who the other actor is. I can picture her, but anyways, Freddie says, yes, you can guess the distance of a storm by counting the minutes between thunder and sound. Seconds, counting the seconds. But yes, Freddie, you are right. You can say like 1001, 1002, and then you can measure the distance. Justina, what do angry drivers usually say while driving? That would be a whole lesson of words that I can't say here because I like to keep my lessons safe for school, safe for work. So maybe someone someday, but they make a hand gestures. They are like, you jerk, and things worse than that probably. So Alina, can we say the police officers measure the speed, or do they always check the speed? I would say the police officer has his radar gun and I would say he's measuring your speed. He's checking your speed. I don't think I would use either, but I'm trying to think of what word I would use. Because we say things like this, like the police officer clocked me doing 100 kilometers per hour. The police officer caught me speeding. That would probably be the police officer is trying to catch people speeding. The police officer caught me speeding. They were checking my speed with a radar gun. So that's what I would say. But usually it's like they were trying to catch people speeding. That's how you would say it. Sandra Bullock. There we go. Yes, Sandra Bullock is in Speed. And then I think there were more movies called Speed, like Speed 2, but I don't think they were as good. Bob, do you know the comics Lucky Luke who shoot faster than it's... No, I do not. That must be one I have not heard of. Hey, that's the end. I'm going to go to work. I hope you're having a nice day on this February 21st, 2025. Remember, this English lesson will come out in a shorter version in a couple days. You should watch it or listen to it. It's just really good for training your ear and for helping you understand what I am talking about. It will have subtitles. So if there were certain descriptions that you did not understand, watch them with the subtitles on. And then again, it's shorter because I remove all of the viewer questions. So it will be probably about 25 minutes long, a nice little lesson for you to watch. If you're not a member, consider being a member. There's a join button somewhere below. If you're not a subscriber, click the subscribe button. And if you really want to improve your English, don't forget, you should watch every English lesson twice. So if you watched my lesson from this past Tuesday on how to complain in English, you should watch it again. In fact, I will put a link here in the chat. It was a fun video to make. I'm getting a little grouchy about winter. In fact, I thought it was funny. I did a members only video a week and a half ago titled "I Love Winter." And I talked about how much I loved winter. And then like 6 days later, I did a lesson on how to complain in English, and I complained about winter the whole time. So I should explain myself. We have had a long stretch with no sun and lots of snow, and it's very, very cold, like below -10 during the day, below -15 at night. And that's what I'm complaining about. If it was -5 and sunny once in a while, I would probably be happier. But that's why I was making a video on how to complain. You should give it a watch if you have time right now. I will put the link again in the chat for you if you want to watch that. Anyways, thanks for watching, everybody. Have a good day. Bye to Brent. He's probably on his flight. Bye to Know That, Eva, Bishak, Baravilson is here, Clive, Shiro, Unsel, Burgit, Kaka Chen. Know That says, thanks for the great lesson, Bob. It's always more than a pleasure to hang around with you, even if it was only 30 minutes for me. Yep, no problem. I wish you and your family a nice Friday and a lovely weekend. Yeah, you too. Wanda says bye. Key Park, Hafiez, Alina, Cat Diary, Linda, Lolly, Modags. Bye to all of you. Have a good day. Bye to John and Pedro. Nice having everyone here. Nice to sit for a Friday morning and be more relaxed. Last semester, I was rushing off. I always feel a bit more relaxed now. Bye to Andres and Unsel and my Chitrans and Elper. Bye, everybody.